One of my favorite memories back when I was about yay high, which I know if you know me, it's kind of shocking that I could have ever been that short, was when my dad applied for his American citizenship. Now, my mom was already a citizen, and my brother was born here in Raleigh, or I guess Cary if you want to be exact. But my dad and I were both Mexican citizens, a fact that to this day I never get tired of rubbing in my big brother's face. And when it came time for my dad to apply for his citizenship, my application was automatically filed alongside his. But it wouldn't be processed until after my dad passed the all-important test and he himself became naturalized. This meant that for a brief moment, I was the only non-American in our little family. A Mexican surrounded by three quasi-Uncle Sams, all of them eager to prove their great American dominance. After it became clear that I was the only true Mexican left in the family, everyone, except for me of course, agreed and decided that it would be fun to have our own mini recreation of the Mexican-American War, complete with foam swords and water guns. So, one sunny Saturday afternoon, after a trip to the dollar store for supplies and ammunition, these three highly unlikely patriots all went out to the backyard and ambushed me and chased me until they grew tired of our little game and agreed that it was time to settle down and get some food. Mexican food, I might add. This memory, though it's at least 9 or 10 years old, is still one of my oldest and most important ones, as I felt like the fate, the future, and the hope of all of Mexico and its people rested on my tiny second grade shoulders. My whole life, I've loved my culture. The food, the people, the music, it's all great. From delicious enchiladas to singing in the middle of a busy market with my grandpa, being Mexican has always been a huge part of who I am. I love visiting Mexico every year or so and seeing where my parents grew up, where they met each other and eventually got married. I've learned a lot about myself on these trips, like where I got my appetite or my weird sense of humor, what type of odd cuts of beef I'm particularly fond of, and why my parents act the way they do sometimes. I wouldn't give up these experiences for the world, and there are very few things in life better than a good taco. But there's more to me than that. I love my culture, and I love everything that defines it. But that doesn't mean that my culture has to define me. My parents often tease me for my American tastes, like liking peanut butter or ordering pumpkin spice lattes in the fall. And while I know they mean it all in good fun, when someone I'm not close to tells me I'm not Mexican enough, it kind of drives me crazy. Because it disvalues an important part of my life. For me, it's important that I'm not defined by one culture, that I'm not defined by a specific custom or tradition, and maybe most importantly, that I'm not defined just by the soil on which I was born. Just like I can enjoy tamales, I'm equally allowed to like turkey on Thanksgiving or hot dogs on the 4th of July. I can like barbecue and Bojangles just as much as chilaquiles and tortas. And I can love sesame chicken and gyros as much as I love guacamole and pozole. I can experience new things, and I can stay true to my Mexicanity, because being Mexican and liking other non-Mexican things are not mutually exclusive. Part of being myself is refusing to give in to the stereotypes that try to entrap me. People say, oh, you're Mexican, you must play soccer. Or, oh, you're Mexican, you must have swum across the river. Or, oh, you're Mexican, what cartel are you in? Which I will say is one of the dumber ones. But the question I get asked most often, and the one that I dislike the most, oh, if you're Mexican, then how come you act so white? Well, you see, I don't have to act Mexican to be Mexican. I don't have to strut around like Speedy Gonzalez or that kid from Coco. And even though I might wear khakis and sweatshirts, I'm still Mexican. Just in the same way that even though my friend wears a do-rag to school and might know all the words to sicko mode, he's still white. Culture is important, but it shouldn't stop me or you from doing what we love. We shouldn't stop eating things or doing things only because they don't fit into society's definition of our specific identity. Because once we start restricting ourselves to it, well, we're more separated and unequal than ever. We face our own barriers every day. Barriers that are often self-imposed. Barriers that have no true meaning or power or significance. That stop us from appreciating new things, experimenting with new ideas. Because we're afraid that to do so would be to betray ourselves. Society pressures us to fit into a mold, into a box that's filled with everything that you can or can't do. And they say that to step out of that box would be disastrous. That to step out of that box would lead to anarchy and chaos. And that to step out of that box would lead to a whole hoopla of apocalyptic events. Because once you're out, then what's stopping everyone else from leaving their box? But I cannot be confined to any one idea or thing. I cannot be limited to only my Mexicanness. I can't be put in a box. While I love my culture and everything about it, and while I wouldn't give it up for the world, I'm also free to be my own person and decide my own identity without regard as to what's expected of or anticipated of me. And in doing so, I'm breaking my own personal barriers, I'm standing up to those of society, and I'm all the better for it. Thank you.